The world's poorest countries suffer from civil wars, ethnic and sectarian strife. COVID-19, soaring inflation, and the war in Ukraine made their bad situations worse. The world has enough wealth and resources to ensure that the entire human race enjoys a decent standard of living. Yet, people in countries like Burundi, South Sudan, and the Central African Republic continue to live in desperate poverty. Political instability and conflict hinder poverty assessment in Afghanistan, Syria, and Eritrea. Determining the poorest countries involves GDP and PPP. It is hard to pinpoint a single cause for long-term poverty. Corrupt governments can impoverish a rich nation. Exploitative colonization and war also contribute. Weaknesses compound. A country in debt will not be able to afford good schools, and a poorly educated workforce will limit capacity. Underprivileged households worldwide suffered the severest social and economic consequences of the coronavirus pandemic. In the world's poorest nations, high levels of informal employment prevail. No social safety nets or loans kept businesses open. The World Bank forecasts students could lose 10% of future income. Before COVID-19, extreme poverty had fallen below 10%. The pandemic reversed that progress. An additional 198 million people entered extreme poverty. Half of the 75 most vulnerable countries face a widening income gap. Over the past 2 decades, economic convergence was expected. Yet, 1 out of 3 in 75 nations, home to a quarter of humanity, is poorer post-COVID-19. The numbers are striking. In the richest countries, the poorest struggle daily. The IMF's latest report highlights worsening prospects for impoverished nations. Declining growth threatens living standards and debt sustainability. High interest rates could fuel social tension. Top 10 poorest countries in the world. 10. Yemen, a land of ancient history and rich culture, now facing one of the most challenging periods in its existence. This country of 35 million, one of the most impoverished on the Arabian Peninsula, is known for its vibrant markets and resilient people. However, it has been in conflict since late 2014, a conflict that has left deep scars on the nation. The power struggle between the Saudi-backed government and the Houthi movement has created a complex and devastating situation. The war has claimed over 150,000 lives, leaving countless families in mourning and communities in despair. The conflict has shattered the economy, destroyed infrastructure, and left the nation struggling to rebuild. Over 80% of the population lives in poverty, with many facing severe food shortages and lack of basic necessities. Despite the dire circumstances, international aid organizations continue to provide much-needed assistance, offering a glimmer of hope amidst the turmoil. 9. Madagascar. This island nation, located off the southeastern coast of Africa, is known for its unique biodiversity and stunning landscapes. Since gaining independence from France in 1960, Madagascar has faced significant political instability, marked by violent coups and disputed elections that have often led to unrest and uncertainty. President Andry Rajoelina, who was elected in 2019, came into power with a strong mandate. He promised to tackle corruption, improve infrastructure, and reduce the widespread poverty that plagues the nation. However, many of these promises have remained unfulfilled, leaving citizens disillusioned and frustrated with a lack of tangible progress. As a result, Madagascar still holds one of the highest poverty rates in the world, with many of its people struggling to meet basic needs amidst rising inflation and economic challenges. 8. Liberia. Africa's oldest republic has ranked amongst the poorest countries. Expectations were high when George Weah became president in 2018. His years in office were marred by high inflation and unemployment. Growth is projected to reach 5.3% in 2024. 7. Malawi. Malawi's economy is vulnerable to weather-related shocks. Food insecurity is extremely high. Malawi faces an economic crisis with fuel shortages and rising food prices. 6. Niger. 80% of Niger is covered by the Sahara Desert. Desertification threaten small-scale agriculture and food security. In 2023, President Bazoum was ousted by a military coup. Mozambique, a country of stunning landscapes and vibrant culture, rich in natural resources like coal, natural gas, and precious minerals, and strategically located along the southeastern coast of Africa. This former Portuguese colony has posted impressive average GDP growth rates of over 7% annually, driven by investments in mining, agriculture, and infrastructure. Yet, despite these economic gains, it remains among the 10 poorest countries in the world, with a significant portion of its population living in poverty. The country faces severe climate conditions, including frequent droughts and cyclones, which exacerbate its economic challenges. Additionally, political instability has hindered consistent development. Since 2017, Islamic insurgent attacks have plagued the gas-rich northern region, causing displacement and insecurity. Still, the economy remains in high gear, with bustling markets and ongoing efforts to improve infrastructure and attract foreign investment, offering hope for a more prosperous future. The Democratic Republic of the Congo. Since independence in 1960, the DRC has faced dictatorship, instability, and violence. 65% live on less than $2.15 a day. The DRC has the potential to become one of Africa's richest countries. The Central African Republic, rich in resources, yet among the poorest countries. In 2016, Faustin Archange Touadéra was elected president. Large areas remain controlled by militia groups. Growth driven by timber and agriculture. Burundi, scarred by a civil war from 1993 to 2005. Burundi is the second poorest country. 80% rely on subsistence agriculture with high food insecurity. Access to water and sanitation is very low. President Ndayishimiye aims to relaunch the economy and repair diplomatic ties. South Sudan, racked by violence since its creation in 2011. Rich in oil reserves, the landlocked state represents a textbook example of the resource curse. The majority of the population is employed in traditional agriculture. This year, an estimated 9 million people will need humanitarian assistance.